abbiamo questo pomeriggio 6 presentazioni e sono presentazioni di persone che sono state finanziate attraverso 3 diversi tipi di finanziamento. Ci sono i fondi di ricerca Roberto Franceschi, il Young Professional Grant e le borse di studio della Fondazione Isacchi Samaia. Poi Tommaso, nel presentare ciascun relatore, vi dirà insomma qualcosa in più. E quello che volevo i tempi sono relativamente stretti per ricerche insomma importanti. Ogni presentazione avrà a disposizione 15 minuti e lasciamo 5 minuti per eventuali domande, discussione. E siccome siamo un network, l'idea è che questa è una presentazione e poi l'interazione può continuare anche in futuro attraverso posta elettronica, no, i social si dice adesso. Tagliate questo. Passo la parola a Tommaso, che ringrazio per questo compito.
Va bene, grazie Carlo per avermi dato l'onore e l'onere di essere il chair di questo pomeriggio. Allora iniziamo con la presentazione di Juan Francisco Alvarado, che ha vinto i fondi di ricerca della Fondazione Franceschi l'anno scorso o 2 anni fa. 2 anni fa. E ci presenterà i risultati del suo studio su Economic Innovation in the Provision of Services by Immigrant Entrepreneurs, Limitations and Opportunities in Brescia, Italy, as the Case of Analysis.
Posso parlare in italiano, però tutta la ricerca e tutto che ho fatto è in inglese, allora la presentazione sarà in inglese. Mi dispiace per tutto, però proverò a fare un inglese che tutto il mondo capisce. Allora, innovation among migrant entrepreneurs. This is actually a topic that many people think that doesn't happen. I mean, migrant entrepreneurs, maybe they are just replication, maybe they are just bringing exotic products, and that's what they do. So then I was wondering, well, maybe there might be a chance that they bring innovation to a country. Why? Because, well, there is other research saying that innovation, whenever you go and you travel abroad, and then you are faced with different characteristics, different culture, a different environment, then you come out with some nice, crazy, creative ideas that when you bring back to your country, it turns out that they are very good business ideas. Think about Silicon Valley. Think about all the engineers that came from all over the world to Silicon Valley, bringing new ideas, developing their skills and creating all the technological development that we have now. That is basically the highest point of innovation that we can find, right? So it's an easy example to be used. But then think about an immigrant entrepreneur that, well, maybe doesn't have that many skills, especially that many big studies or big experience, but still they have experienced migration. So that's how I started my project. I thought, okay, maybe the experience of migration can still bring some creative ideas or some innovative ideas that could be translated into business. So then I started with this project. And of course, there is all these theories that talk about entrepreneurship as bringing value by introducing a novelty. And that all entrepreneurs, at some point, they are creating something new. They are creating a new company. They are creating new business ideas with what they are doing. But of course, when you talk about small businesses, you have entrepreneurs and you have managers. Managers, they take care of the business, they take care of the business running, but entrepreneurs are the ones creating. What happens in small companies? Well, they are the same person. You have 2 social functions into 1 person. So what happens there? I was very puzzled by that, and I hope that many of you would also be puzzled by this structure, by looking at all the immigrants that have business outside, starting from an immigrant that could be selling maybe informal things outside a university from an immigrant that has very big shops in the city. So then I realized that, well, maybe bringing new thing is not enough to do innovation. You actually have to take care a lot about the context. Because if you bring something new, then, well, it has to be compatible with something. So I started finding some theories that would talk about it. So then I wonder, well, how easy is it that this novelty diffuses in a context? Does it actually translate as an economic improvement? So then I came out with a very nice model. That is a very nice model that is all my dissertation. It's an interactive model with a product. So assessing the product, plus assessing the individual characteristics of the person in a certain context. So it has three very distinct studies: product, person, context. So when you understand all innovation seen from these three perspectives, I think then we can try to make sense better of what happens with innovation. Because maybe a product is new, maybe a product is novel, but the individual just has a different analysis, and the context might not be receptive. So then I decided to focus on Brescia, and that is where the foundation Franceschi came into play. They, of course, funded most of the activities of data collection in Brescia. We had a research assistant that was interviewing people. We did a drawing from the Chamber of Commerce of the businesses, and then we asked them. We had an interview and a lot of questions asking them, well, what do you think about innovation first? What is the service that you provide? How do you put that into play for the context of Brescia? Who are your competitors? Who are your customers? We came out with three main ideas about the context. I will divide these into context, person, and product, of course. So we came out with three main ideas about the context from all these interviews. They acknowledge and they realize, all these immigrants, that, well, local institutions, they are aiming for technology-oriented improvements, especially in the case of Brescia. If you are familiar with that, they recently started they recently finished the metro lines in the past years. They have been developing what they want to call the smart city of Brescia. They have been developing a lot of technology for excavation of the Roman amphitheater they have. So they are aiming for a lot of these technological improvements in the city. But at the same time, there is a fierce competition, and they call it that there is a lot of competition with other local companies. So that gives us already a thing. Then immigrants in Brescia, they are not targeting at an ethnic market, meaning that they are not selling to other migrants, not in the majority. They're actually competing with locals, and that's an interesting thing, because in other cities, and that's why the context is important, in other cities like Amsterdam, I also study the city of Amsterdam, over there the migrants are focusing mostly on the migrant market, which poses a different question about the product. And now we go to the research questions that I realized. Like, okay, so how do they rate themselves in terms of innovation? Which are the characteristics of these people? Which are the conditions of the social context? And which are the sources of innovative ideas? Just as some clarifications, migrants, I took them as first generation. First generation basically, well, because of the process of migration. Second generation is a bit more difficult to measure. Businesses were small and medium-sized companies, and innovation was defined as new services or new goods in the local market. There were 76 respondents from a database of the Chamber of Commerce, where we had open questions and Likert scale questions, and we also had some network questions about their business contacts. I'm going to go to this one. After cleaning the data, so we interviewed 76, but we only selected 70 for the study because the others were taken out. What do they think about themselves? So this is sort of their own perception, how innovative they think they are. And well, no surprise that basically 45, so more than half, around 60% of them thought, well, you know, my business are not innovative. They are just replication. I'm not doing anything new. It's just the same thing that everybody does. It's nothing different, right? But some of them, they said, well, we actually are including some body treatments into our services. We are giving a different educational training. We're giving a new life experiences to other people. So think about cosmetologists, that they are giving a different life experiences because they are giving a product based on Romanian cosmetics, and then giving different life experience. Is that innovation? Well, that is the question, right? Because then we think, okay, this is a person who doesn't have a very high level of education, who is in a context competing with Italians, but who is actually bringing a new product, who is using technology, who is using Romanian cosmetics and technology that is produced in Romania to introduce it in the Italian market, in this case in the Brescian market. So I decided to go a little bit into the characteristics of each person. And it turns out that those who said that, well, okay, maybe my product might be innovative, maybe my product might not be, they are trusting a lot in informal fundings. So you can tell that friends and family are important. That is nothing new. That is research that has been done. A lot of people have said, yeah, that happens. My research basically goes along the same. What is different is that they are using a lot digital channels of technology. Does that fall into innovation? Well, actually it does. It is organizational innovation. They are using digital channels like WhatsApp groups to find out which are the cheapest ways to buy products that they need for their businesses. So at the end, they are using some digital channels that one may say, well, but that's not that new. Well, it is new for their businesses, for their sector. So at the end, it falls into this category of economic innovation. They have a mixed network with people of the same nationality and Italians. This is very interesting because, again, previous research has shown, well, migrant entrepreneurs, they relate a lot only to other migrants. But no, the measure of networks actually saying that they are relating to people from the same nationality, but also Italians. I will show you some graphics at the end that they are very interesting. And then I looked at how those business ideas were connecting with other people, like where were they coming? It turns out that on average, each person uses other 4 to help them in their businesses. So when we think about an entrepreneur and we think that it's only one person starting a business, well, my research and then other people actually says that it is a social endeavor, it is a social action. In this case, it is on average 5 people starting a business. 1 who is the entrepreneur, plus other 4 who are helping with ideas, helping with funding, helping with unpaid jobs sometimes. But they are all densely connected. What does that mean? That they all know each other. That's very interesting because a lot of people says, well, entrepreneurs, maybe they may pick one person that uses for one thing and then do not know the others. But no, in this case, they are all connected. They all know each other. And one difference that was very interesting is that the density, so basically how much connected these people are among themselves, among people who say that they are more innovative, that they have new ideas in their businesses, well, they show a higher density, meaning that, yeah, more people know each other in that group than in others who they do not know altogether. As a concluding, and I think I'm finishing, perfect. I would say that there is a mix of factors coming from the individual characteristics of people, so their level of education and their social capital, and the conditions of the receiving society. In this case, the case of Brescia, it shows a case where they can improve it because they are competing with others, so they have to include new products, new services in order to compete. But there are other contexts. Milan would work in a different way. In that case, you have other researchers that say how Milan works. Me, myself, I am also working in Amsterdam, and in Amsterdam, it follows a different logic because the context is different. And also the individual characteristics of the people is different. They are competing in a specific niche of the local markets, so they are not competing in all the niche as we thought, like, oh, immigrant entrepreneurs are only informal and they are not competing in everything. Well, they are very specific. So they are going into specific niches. And they do have higher skills in terms of education, but that situation is not combined with a lot of funding. So what happens? We have good education, not a lot of funding, and similar social capital. Therefore, not having the best conditions for innovation. And just as a final comment, because I said I would show you some nice graphics at the end, To do all the analysis, I am creating right now, because I'm writing the final part of the dissertation, and is ideal types for innovation related to migration. And there are 4 ideal types. Each of them, as you can see, there's a characteristic of the service, so the context. There is a characteristics of where the funding comes from, characteristic of their human capital, and those little graphics are the characteristics of how they are connected to other people. In this case, yellows are foreigners and reds are Italians. So you can see that in the typology that I am building right now, you can see all these graphics because they correspond to each typology. So an ideal case, for example, with low innovation is smaller group combined, meanwhile one with higher innovation is combined more with Italians, because Italians in this case, as being the natives, help to translate these crazy creative ideas that they bring from migration into something that is more compatible to the Italian market. And there you have other 2 cases, but yeah, I think I can finish with that.
Qualcuno ha domande? Se nessuno ha domande, io ho un paio di domande. You talk about the innovativeness, like using digital technologies. So basically you claim that immigrant entrepreneurs are innovative because they use digital technologies, and also you say that on average they have about 4 helpers in their entrepreneurial activity. And so in both of these cases I was wondering whether that is different for Italian entrepreneurs. So you're giving us this fact, but I think to make the thing interesting, or to see whether there's anything specific to migration, it would be interesting to know, to compare them to Italians in the same sector, to give us a flavor of how different immigrants are. Let's see if there's any other questions, otherwise, yes. Please.
Well, to answer you, well, there are 2 parts, right? The first one is how I claim them to be innovative. And actually, I don't claim them, I'm just showing them that there are different kinds of innovation. I didn't explain it today, but I can extend now a little bit. There are 4 types of innovation. One being the product itself, so being the good or the service. Another one, having a new marketing strategy, that's also innovation. Another one, having a new process of production, that is also innovation. And another one, making a new organization of the company, that would be also innovation. And all these 4 typologies, they are recognized, and you can have incremental or you can have disruptive. So you have a lot of typologies with that, but the message here, to answer your question, is we shouldn't look only at innovation based on technology. That is one kind. And if we look at innovation as economic innovation and which things, in this case migrants, are bringing to a local market, then we need to look at the big picture. So that's what I did. And the second one about comparison with Italians, yes, that was something that I'm missing. And I would love to know more about it. What I do to do that is I compare with other research that has been done unfortunately not in Italy, because as far as I know, there is no one researching this kind of innovation among Italian small and medium companies. But what it has been done in other countries is that other researchers said, okay, we have people who migrated and came back, especially in the US. And we're going to measure how many good ideas or new ideas they bring to the company. And they did it. They basically sent these people abroad, and then they interview them ante and post to see what happened with it. And it turns out that indeed their network increased. So you were mentioning, like I found around 4 people in their network. Of course, we're talking about the country of destination. And this research talks about country of origin that went to a destination, and then country of origin where you measure it again. So of course, for these people, the network increased because of the process of migration. But while it was there, it was very, very small. And that's exactly the point that I am measuring, the point in country of destination. And that's why it's so small, because let's face it, I mean, migrants, usually they did not have a process of education. in the country of destination. They don't have a lot of work experience. And those are the stages in life where you make friends, where you create your networks. So that's why having 4 people, I have an assumption that Italians will have more. I don't know how many, but it is the assumption that because I study migrants, Italians would have more. But unfortunately, I don't have the information about it.